Oh, awesome. Okay. So students from home. Okay, we'll wait a little bit longer just to give your students a chance since they're at home. That's perfectly fine. Looks like two of them are in. Oh, another one. Awesome. We got a good crowd. This is great. Chef, no pressure.
Thanks.
I love your poster.
This guy.
Oh, nice. I didn't even notice that. I've been staring at you for a while this morning. That is awesome.
Anybody can cook. Anybody can cook.
That is right. That's a good movie. That's great. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Looks like it kind of slowed down. So, okay, Kenz, whenever you're ready to start, there we go. Whoa, she's good. Okay, so good morning. I'm Megan Cruzy with Iowa Central. I'm the Work-Based Learning Coordinator here. Welcome to the Iowa Central Culinary Career Discovery Day. We have a lot of awesome stuff in store for you. Chef's gonna talk to us and we're gonna watch some videos. First off, we wanna tell you that we are recording. So if you don't feel comfortable showing your face, we completely understand, although we would love to see your face. It helps us when we present to you. Also, please keep yourself muted during the presentation. You can absolutely unmute and ask Chef questions throughout the presentation, or you can wait till the end. And do use the chat function too. We love to see the chats come through and we can read them for you. If there's no other things, it looks like everyone's in. So we'll go ahead and start. We're gonna let Chef Michael introduce himself and then we'll continue with the video. So go ahead, Chef, whenever you're ready.
Sounds good. Welcome, everybody. Excited to see so many faces out there. That's awesome. I hope you're all keeping well and staying safe in these crazy times of COVID. But welcome to today. So really, I'm gonna pour my life out in front of you, so you know a little bit about the world of culinary and hospitality, restaurants, hotels, everything from cooking in small, tiny restaurants to $50 million super yachts. We'll cover it all and talk about it all. So basically, my name is Michael Hurst. Everybody calls me Chef or Chef Michael. I started cooking when I was about 11 years old. My dad was a terrible cook, and when my parents divorced, I started cooking at home age 11 for my dad and my two brothers. And I loved it. I love not doing dishes. I like to cook. And that way I didn't have to do any of the washing up. So I thought that was a good deal. So that's kind of how I got into cooking. And at 16, I left school and got a job in a hotel. And the hotel agreed to pay for me to go to college. So I went to college for 3 years, 1 day a week for 3 years, and spent 3 years training at the hotel. What it's like at the hotel at that age, it was hard work, long hours, demanding work, on your feet a lot. But it was so satisfying to be very creative. And that's probably one of the biggest plus of being in this industry is you're being creative every day. You're making things that people are going to eat, but they change every single day. Obviously, there are restaurants a la McDonald's who probably don't change their menus very much. But then there are restaurants, millions of restaurants where they do change their menu, whether it's daily or weekly or monthly or seasonally. So there's always something new to be doing in a kitchen, which I was fascinated by. I love the creativity of being a chef. You might even be in the baking world, in the pastry side, in which case there's a lot to do that's different there every single day as well. So a little bit about the job itself. Just depends on what field you're in, really. But an average day for a chef is probably a 10-hour day. You're either working breakfast and lunch. You might work a split shift and work lunch and dinner. I did all those. I cooked in London for about 12 years. I started in the hotel. I was there for about 4 years at the hotel. Then I went to a couple of smaller restaurants. The nice thing about a big hotel, and there were 70 chefs that worked at the hotel I was in. So you were part of a really big family, a big team. And most good hotels are like that. The Ritz-Carlton in Chicago and the sort of large-scale hotels that do big weddings and have multiple different restaurants in them, they employ a lot of staff, a lot of chefs. When you end up working in smaller restaurants, which I found out, and there's only 5 or 6 of you in a kitchen, you kind of depend on each other a lot more. You become a lot closer bond. But if someone's off sick, everybody has to work that much harder to pick up the slack. Where in the hotel, nobody really noticed if you took a day off sick because there were normally 30 or 40 chefs on board. So it was kind of a different lifestyle from the hotel. I love my time in the hotel. It was like a family. There were 400 staff in total. It was a 600-bedroom hotel. It was a 5-star hotel in London. And it was a lot of fun to train there because I got to move all the way around. I worked in every department, from the laundry room to the veg room where I just peeled mountains of potatoes every day. Some days we would peel upwards of 350 to 400 pounds of potatoes. We used to race each other, and that's how you got through the day. The first one to peel 6 sacks of potatoes would get an early lunch break and an extra Diet Pepsi. So that's what we did. And we learned to do most jobs like that because it was such a large catering operation. We had one dining room, a banquet room that fed 1,800 people at a time. And unfortunately for me, we didn't do buffets. Everything was silver served and plated. So waiters would carry a dish with 10 chicken breasts and go round a table and serve 10 chicken breasts. Another waiter would follow with the vegetables, and another waiter would follow with the potatoes, and then someone else would come around with the sauce. So everybody would get their hot food put in on a plate in front of them in about 3.5 minutes. And that would happen for 1,800 people. So military operation, but it was a lot of fun to watch and learn and train that way. And there are still those sort of apprenticeship programs in the US. A lot of the big hotel chains. You've got the Hilton Group, the Ritz-Carlton Group, Radisson. They all have training plans in place for young people to get into the industry. And you can do apprenticeships, you can do internships. A lot of them have in-house educational courses that they teach you. And it's a great way to start in the industry, working in a hotel. A lot less pressure than being in a small run restaurant. So after 4 years at the hotel, I went off to do a couple of restaurants. I wanted to learn some different cuisine. So I worked in a French restaurant for a bit and then a French bistro. I worked in a Belgian restaurant for a little bit. I worked for a guy from Egypt in his restaurant for a little bit to learn a bit about North African food. And really, that's kind of what I did. And then I started I got the bug to travel because every chef that I worked with over about 8-9 years in London, everybody had traveled. And that's what we do in this industry. We travel for experience. And for me, that was a case of I want to go to France for a little bit. I went to France, I went to Portugal, I went to Spain. I wanted to try cooking around Europe. Now, I don't speak any of those languages, but I can just about say, please, thank you, and where's the bathroom in most of those languages, but that's about it. The rest of the time, when you're in a kitchen or you're in a restaurant, someone shows you something and you follow what they do. And that's kind of the language. There's lots of thumbs up. There's lots of this going on and, oh, I understand, lots of nodding. Sometimes they shake their head and go, oh, crazy Englishman, what are you doing? But there's almost an unspoken language in a kitchen in a restaurant that chefs move in a certain way. They chop a certain way. And you kind of know when someone shows you how to chop the lettuce, you chop it that way. That's how they want it. So you can pick up skills very quickly. And I picked up what I would call pigeon language. So I could read a menu in French or Spanish, and I could order food. All the important things like asking, where's my cold beer? Can you give me one, please? Important things like that, which obviously when you're over 21, you can do, my young high school friends. But travel's a big part of being a chef because you learn the culture of that country. You learn about French food in France. And I've started to do more of that here in America too, traveling to learn the culture of American food. And it's so diverse. It's a lot of fun. And for me, there's something new to learn every single day being a chef. That's huge. So a couple of years of traveling. And I did a little stint in India for a bit. I had spent 3 or 4 years when I was younger in Africa, when my family moved around a little bit. And that kind of got me into the whole, I want to see more of the planet. And I think it's really important for young people to go see the planet because it's such an amazing place. And there are so many wonderful things to see out there. And the nice thing about this job, being a chef, is there's work wherever you go. People eat at restaurants, eat at hotels, eat in airports, eat on ferries, eat on cruise ships, eat at holiday resorts. So there is always work. A young man looked at a website yesterday. The Ritz-Carlton Group actually own 4 $50 million private yachts. And they only have like 25 couples on each of these yachts, and you have your own suite. And we clicked the careers button at the bottom of the page, and they were looking for 14 different jobs. And there was one that this young man who's with me at the moment said, I could do that. And I'm like, go do that. So he's going to apply to try and work on one of these super deluxe yachts. I mean, everything is, all the staff wear white gloves that are front of house. It's champagne for breakfast, champagne for lunch, champagne for dinner. Fabulous. I think it's $12,000 a night to stay on this boat. So it sounds a lot of money, but there are a lot of people out there who have that lot of money. And our job is to make them have a great time and to give us great big tips at the end of it. So imagine what the tip is on a $12,000 a day yacht. Probably pretty good, I would imagine. So there's a lot of work globally in this industry. There's a lot of work in America, obviously at the current climate with COVID. And we know we'll be out of this in the next 6 to 7 months. We'll be through the other side, and everything's going to be back to normal, reopen, and there'll be new businesses opening up, new restaurants opening up, new bars opening up, everybody moving again, flying again, holidaying again. So we'll be back to normal pretty quick. In an average year, there's probably over 1 million vacancies worldwide on any given day in my industry. So finding work is not difficult. All you need is a bit of passion, have a good command of the English language, and have good communication skills. So I'm certainly not here to tell you to come to Iowa Central, because if you got that already, go and have fun in my industry. It's brilliant. All we do here is we give you some basic skills to help you get into the real high-end places if you want to, or go into management. That's all we do here. So after 4 or 5 years of traveling, I decided to settle down, and I worked for members of the royal family in London for a little bit. I worked for the Parker Bowles family. You probably know Camilla's married to Prince Charles at the moment. So I worked for Simon Parker Bowles. He had a very traditional British restaurant called Green's. There were 2 different restaurant sites and a wine bar as well. And I started as a mid-range chef in that place. And within 4 years, I was the executive head chef at the age of 22 years old. And so I stayed there for about 3 more years. During my time there, a lot of fun. The average spend per customer was about $80 a head. So we could buy really good ingredients. We all earned really good wages. And that's something you'll find in our industry, is that the higher level of establishment you work in, generally the higher the salaries are, the better the quality of products being purchased. When you're buying a burger for $1, some people do that, would you believe? In my head, I think, well, what's in that for $1? It can't be very good if it's only $1. There's a wonderful restaurant in Chicago at the top of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. They serve a burger and it costs $120. And they sell about 300 of those a week. So there's plenty of money in Chicago for $120 a burger. But again, it's about quality. And what I learned was I really like the fine dining world. I like to spoil people. I like over the top table settings. I like all the glitz and the glamour that comes with it. I like to look after people who have a lot of money, who want to spend it and on really exotic wines and amazing foods and great adventures. And that's the kind of field I like being in. I've been very lucky with my time at Greens. I got to feed a lot of celebrities because what I learned was the better establishment you're at, the more likely you are to bump into VIP celebrities, sports stars, and obviously members of the royal family. I got to feed Princess Diana and Prince William, Prince Harry when they were a lot younger. I got to feed Robert De Niro. I got to feed, some of you will know this guy, David Beckham. I fed the entire Manchester United team. So I've had some cool experiences meeting cool people, and it's been a lot of fun. So the better the establishment you work at, the better the clientele will come through the door, which I learned and I enjoyed. I actually met a customer, and we became friends across the bar over the couple of years I was there as head chef. And this nice man decided that he wanted to sponsor me in my own restaurant. So at the age of 26 or 25, I left London, quit London on Christmas Eve, quit my job. I went off down south to a southern part of England and stayed with my family for a little bit and started to look for a premise. And I actually went to a pub across from an auction. I've been to the auction looking at lots of furniture. because you can buy it's really good to buy furniture cheap at auctions. Tables and chairs can cost you nothing, like $1 a chair. And there's a restaurant in Chicago called Grace, and when it opened, I knew the chef there, Curtis Duffy. He spent $1,500 on each chair in his restaurant. $1,500. I'll take the $1 chairs. That's my budget. Anyway, so I went across the road to look at the manual, the sort of program for this auction, and I started to look around the place I was at, and I was in their garden, really nice old pub, had a lovely old barn, and a really nice garden. I went inside and I chatted to the owner, the landlord, and said, "Hey, if you're ever thinking of selling, here's my number." Well, he rang me 4 weeks later and said, "You know what? I've been here 22 years. I'll sell to you because you're from the area." So we got chatting, and I ended up buying this place for $300,000, and I ran it for 10 years. We did everything from weddings to music festivals. It had 20 acres of land. I did a huge wedding for J.K. Rowling's family. I think she wrote a couple of books called Harry Potter, something or other. So we had a lot of fun there. Again, just because our food was really high end and we served great beer, nice champagne, really lovely setting. I got to feed a lot of VIPs again. They kind of followed me, which was nice. So we had members of the band Queen. You might have heard of people like that. Roger Taylor and Freddie Mercury would come in for beers and something to eat. A lot of famous polo players. Again, more members of the royal family. So it was kind of fun to do and a great experience. Probably the hardest 10 years of my life, though. It was probably 90 to 100 hours a week was about the normal work schedule. That's what working for yourself can be. Quite demanding because you put yourself into the business. You put your life, your soul, your heart, everything into the business. So, but the most rewarding too. At the end of a day, when you're really tired and it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you open up that cash register and there's like $6,000 in there and you're like, that wasn't a bad day. So there's always the financial reward at the end of it. But I think if you love what you do, and most of our chefs love what we do, it's a very passionate industry to be in. So we love passionate people, but it's a lot of fun. So I sold that restaurant and took a holiday, went down to New Zealand for a couple of months. And then next thing I know, I'm on a plane to Iowa and started a culinary school in 2007 in a place called Fort Dodge. I'd never heard of it, never heard of Iowa, but I'd never been to America. So I'm a big believer in opportunities and challenges and never saying no. So this was the next part of my food adventure, was to come to the great US of A. And here we are 13 years later, having a lot of fun. And I've been to about 25, 26 different states. I've been to Canada 3 times. I've been to Mexico 3 times. I'm going to go to all of South America, but I didn't realize your country was so big. So it's taking a long time to go and try all the food in every state. I now weigh about 650 pounds. No, I don't, it's a joke. But you live in an amazing country and you have an amazing food culture here. I know a lot of people, certainly from my home country, England, they all say, "Oh, it's just burgers." I'm like, it's so much more than that. It is pretty crazy. I've eaten buffalo, I've eaten alligator down south, the food in New Orleans, the amazing food and bourbon I've drunk in Louisville, Kentucky, and I've drunk mint juleps at the Churchill Downs, and there's so much to see, so much to do in the US. So I don't think you'll ever get bored in the kitchens in America if you move around and just see it all, taste it all, try it all. Cooking is an adventure. You might see that on here, this little badge says Dean of Culinary Adventure. That's a self-made title for myself, but that's kind of what cooking is. It's a culinary adventure. Every day is something new. Every day is exciting. And like my little friend up here, anybody can do this. Really, you can. I could not cook anything at the age of 12, 13, 14. But when I started in the hotel at 16 and they gave me a bag of onions, and I'm like, I normally buy my onions ready sliced. No, we don't do that here. You've got to peel the onions. I'm like, how do you do that? So the man actually had the first chef I knew opened up the bag of onions and gave me a knife and showed me the first onion. And, when I sold my restaurant in 2006, I had it for 10 years. I guess we kind of knew what we were doing, because if you remember, I bought it for 300,000. We sold it for 1.3 million. So we put quite a bit of money in the bank. That's part of that dedication of working that number of hours, not taking any days off sick and grafting for that long. The rewards come. but it takes hard work. It does take dedication. And there are days you're really tired, but then someone brings in a beautiful whole salmon and you get all excited again because here's this amazing fish. Or someone brings in, you'll see in a little bit later on in the video that I've got a farmer nearby here who raises me pheasants for me, for our kids to use the pheasants. We get to pluck and throw feathers everywhere. He raises cows for me, so we have local beef. He's raised white New Zealand rabbits for me because we've done some rabbit dishes, and always raising me something that we can use in class. And you'll see a little clip in the video later of our latest food adventure, which is kind of fun to see. You'll see some of that. But yeah, so really it's a life of a chef is on your feet a lot. It really depends on what route you want to go, whether you want to be in a hotel, in a restaurant. There are private chefs. There's another form of a job. Being a private chef, you actually work for someone and solely for them. We've got a graduate of ours here from Iowa Central who's working in Chicago, and he's the private chef to 3 of the Chicago Bull players. Not a bad little gig. He went and worked in a restaurant in Chicago for a bit called Honey's, and it was a sort of American barbecue joint. And it got booked out one night by the entire Chicago Bull team. And Fred Hoiberg was still their head coach at the time. He came in, he recognized the logo on my young man's jacket and introduced and said, "Oh, come over, say hello." Met some of the players. Well, within 3 months, the players had employed my young man to be their private chef. So he travels with them and he cooks for those 3 guys. And he cooks up in their penthouse apartment. 3 of them live together in some huge apartment. So anyone can cook. That boy couldn't cook 5 years ago, and now he's a private chef for 3. He gets pretty good money. He probably doesn't want me to tell you how much he's earning, but he's doing very well. Money's not an object for those players and the money they earn, so he has a great time. But he worked in a few restaurants to get the experience before he got that gig. But you could be a personal chef. Is someone who cooks for people. A young lady here, she's got 3 clients, and she goes into their house each on a different day and makes the food for the week. So she's making meals up for her families. Or there's one is a retired priest from the Catholic Church here in town. He lives on his own. She goes in and she makes food for the next 5 days for him. So she makes meatloaves and shepherd's pies and just leaves them all in the fridge, and all he's got to do is throw it in the oven. You could be a chef on a cruise ship, a chef on a yacht, and a yacht could be a private yacht that a family owns. That's a 30-foot yacht. It could be some super duper 25, 50 million yacht. There's a great show on TV called Below Deck. If you ever watch it, it gives you a little insight into the yachting world. Working in the Caribbean, a lot of the staff on those boats, they're young Americans or Australians or South Africans or English. Most of the time, the chef in the kitchen is English. I don't know why that is. You'll think we've got a funny accent, but I think you like it. It's weird. I haven't got an accent. There we go. So it's a huge world of work and opportunities. It really is. I've got chef friends of mine who became food writers in magazines. There's a friend of ours in Chicago. She's a food blogger. She has something like close to 1 million followers as a food blogger. She's a very influential food blogger. Food influencers out there in the real world. There are people who have made a fortune taking food photographs and putting it on Instagram and Snapchat. A lot of restaurants and hotels want these people in our industry who are passionate about food, but who go off on a different angle. You could be a food stylist. You could be a private caterer. So you just do people's weddings or functions and events. You could work for an events company. We've got the Wells Fargo Arena down in Des Moines who employ several of our students at the moment. And when big events happen again, I mean, they've done the NCAA basketball down there a year or 2 ago. That's a big organization. That's food, that's drinks, that's security, that's maintenance. There's so many things to learn. So anyway, I'm probably going to take a sip of water, and my lovely assistant Megan here is going to fire up a little video, the first part of our video that we made for you, just to show you a little bit of a day in the life of an Iowa Central student here, kind of what they get up to, the facility we got here. Obviously, you guys aren't able to come onto our campus at the moment, but I just wanted to show you. It's only run for 3 or 4 minutes, but it's just a little insight into what they get up to, and then we'll talk a little bit about the baking world after that, and then we'll show you a video of the chef kitchen and what we get up to there too. So pass it back to Megan for a second.
Awesome. Thank you. That was really good information. Let's see here. And also just to mention quick, so I don't forget, we're going to play a Kahoot game at the end. So not right now, but we'll give you a little bit of time at the end to go get a device, whether it's a cell phone or a computer. And we hope you all can play with us. So got some really good questions in store. So we'll do that after a little bit here. Okay. There we go. Go. Sitting in space. Alrighty, whenever you're ready.
Perfect. So that was a little, just a snapshot of what our kids get up to in the baking world. A lot of the guys and girls come here. They want to be chefs, and a big part of being a chef is the fundamentals of bread making. And obviously, when you write a menu, it's 3 courses. Hopefully, it's a starter, an appetizer, it's a main course, and a dessert. So we don't want to miss out on any of those skill sets. Because each one is worth money to a restaurateur, someone that owns a restaurant or hotel. You're always going to get given 3 courses. So they learn a lot of dessert work in there. Desserts were a big part of my restaurant. I actually really enjoy making desserts. It's kind of the one time part of the meal where you can just add a load of sugar and chocolate and have a lot of fun and be really naughty with food, which is food's meant to make people smile. And the dessert, we always try to design a dessert that makes people smile at the end of the meal. Hopefully they're smiling all the way through the meal because it's so amazing. But we really like to play and be very playful with the dessert. And we've had sort of little pots on fire at Willow Ridge and given people their own marshmallows to toast. So they've got their own little fire pit on the table. We just love having fun with the dessert side of things. But being able to make bread is just should be a skill that's taught at elementary school, to be honest. But it's a fundamental of life. You break bread with friends. You break bread with family. You should be able to make bread fresh, 2 or 3 times a week at home. It'll taste so much better than anything you buy in the store. So that's a big part of being a cook. These guys here, they can come here and just do the baking for a 1 year, or they can combine it with culinary for a 2-year degree. But it's a lot of fun. We do cake decorating. A lot of my girls want to go on to work at bakeries that just decorate cakes, make wedding cakes, decorate cupcakes. So there's a world of work out there on the pastry side. Good restaurants employ pastry chefs. Some of those hotels I mentioned earlier in Chicago, they'll have a pastry kitchen with maybe 5 or 6 chefs working in the pastry kitchen because they make these little chocolate truffles and put them on your pillows in your hotel room. They'll send in the afternoon. You'll have afternoon tea. You have all these lovely little cakes that they've made. They'll make 600 croissants in the morning. They'll make fresh baguettes, breakfast rolls, dinner rolls. So hotels have full-time pastry chefs in them. Especially hotels that offer the room service side of things. Locally here, there's a lot more of the sort of the Hy-Vees are looking for bakers and bakery people. We've got a lot of independent cake decorating companies here in Fort Dodge and cupcake makers. America can't run without cookies and donuts. So obviously there's a lot of companies that need people to make cookies and donuts too. There are standalone donut shops in Chicago that literally sell 3,000 donuts a day. And they're about $1 a donut. So, I mean, that's not a bad little business because donuts are pretty cheap to make, let me tell you. So the baking world is kind of unique. It's kind of specialized. You have to be an early starter if you get into baking. Let me tell you that. When I started making my own bread, I had to start work at 6 o'clock in the morning because the other chefs would come in at 8 o'clock and then the kitchen would get a lot hotter and a lot more humid and it didn't help my bread. So I had to bake when the kitchen was nice and cool. So if you do work in a bakery, you'll have an early start. So don't be surprised if you find out that there are 2 4 o'clocks or 2 5 o'clocks in every day. I know most of you don't find that out till you get into the real world. But it's kind of an early bird's job. Not much baking is done in the evening. It's normally done all during the morning. So it's all done and out the way by the time lunchtime would start or an evening session would start. So most bakeries are busy from 5 or 6 in the morning till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Obviously, there are a lot of coffee shops. We have one in town here where they make a lot of their own pastries from scratch. There are companies that just make bread. There's the brilliant bakery in Des Moines called L'Ami Bakery. They supply most of the restaurants in Des Moines with their fresh bread. I think they deliver like 8,000 loaves of bread a day at about $4 a loaf. I'm not very good at math. That's about $32,000 of bread delivery a day. And that's flour, yeast, and water. There's a business in there somewhere. So you get a lot of industry experience from myself if you're here, because it's all about having fun but making money too at the same time. And it is a fun industry to be in. It really is. And the baking and pastry side is the more creative side. It's more artistic. There's a lot more science behind everything you make. You have to follow recipes. You have to be in that structure to make sure your breads rise properly. The artistry of the cake decorator, not just piping, but using an air gun and spray painting on cakes, ice carving. Our guys here, they make their own sorbets, sherbets, ice creams. On it goes. The list is huge. There's so much sugar work, pulled sugar work, sculpting. You name it. It's an endless. You can go on and spend your whole life learning about pastry. There's a very good school in Chicago called the French Pastry School. They have some great classes there, and a lot of my peers go there just to top up their skills for a class or two every year, and it's a brilliant school. It's not cheap, but it's a brilliant school. Yeah, so really, there's a huge world on the baking and pastry side, and again, there is work all over the world. the one thing I'll say is if you specialize, you better be good. So work really hard at being a good pastry or cake decorator, because there's quite a lot of average stuff out there. So be different. You've really got to take it to a whole new level. Some of you might have watched Cake Boss. You know, today people are expecting, like, you know, airplanes to take off out your cake, or a drone to rise up out of it, or a cannon to shoot off somewhere, or I don't know, they've got to move, explode, do loads of stuff. If you watch the Great British Baking Show, it's a little bit calmer down there. You know, we have a nice tea cake. We get excited about that in England. Here's a scone. Do you like a scone? Very nice. Old Buddy here likes to blow things up with his cakes and stuff. So it's a different world, but it's fun. No matter what you make in baking and pastry, it's a lot of fun. And the challenge is to keep your finger out of the mixing bowl, because otherwise you can put on a pound or two. I'm speaking from experience here. But that's a little snapshot of the baking world. I think we'll roll the next bit of the video, and you'll see what the guys get up to in the kitchen, and then I'll talk a little about their daily life. So you got that little surprise at the end there, okay? You know, I said that we got a nice farmer that raises things for us. Yes, we're the only culinary school in America that's raising our own ostrich for our menu. Oh my gosh. So we got these little chicks, and they were literally this big when they arrived in beautiful, exotic Fort Dodge. They're probably wondering what the heck they're doing here. They literally, here's a few facts about ostrich. They grow 1/2 inch a day. So when they came to us, they were just below knee height. They're already nearly 5 foot, and they will be about 8.5 foot tall by the time they're done growing. Yes, us chefs are realists too. We love raising pigs, but we like eating pigs. We love raising cows, but we're going to eat the cows. And we're having a lot of fun raising and learning all about ostriches, but we are going to eat the ostriches too. I'm afraid we can't be squeamish because the world loves to eat protein. You'll learn a lot about what the world eats. We do teach vegetarian and vegan cuisine as well, and as well as gluten-free and baking and lots of other things. But we eat a lot of proteins, and we like to challenge people in Fort Dodge to get out their comfort zone. And so we have a an African menu on next spring for a few nights, and there's camel on there, there's ostrich on there. So we haven't got the camels here yet, but that could be next. The next challenge is to raise camels in Fort Dodge, Iowa. A bit of fun. But anyway, the rest of that video just gives you a snapshot of kind of what the kids get up to here. But you know, as a chef, you can be a breakfast chef somewhere. You could be a lunchtime chef. So you could do a 5-6 hour day doing breakfast. Then you prep for lunch. You could be coming in at 9 o'clock in the morning, prepping for lunch, and then you get the afternoon off, and then you work in the evening. You could just be someone that works from 3 in the afternoon till 11 or 12 at night. Just depends where that restaurant is, when the busy times are. You've basically got to be able to make everything as the chef. You're not the pastry chef, but you've got to make the appetizers. You've got to make the soups. You've got to make the sauces. You've got to be able to prep the proteins. You've got to be able to cut up the fish, cut up the steaks, clean the vegetables, learn how to puree, saute. You saw them tossing in pans there. We don't ever really stir anything with a spoon. Otherwise, we'd have about 60 spoons along our stove. We learn to toss and swirl things in pans. So it's really hands-on, which I love. I love as a teacher. The one place I don't like is a classroom. I love a kitchen. So I'm really lucky in that extent that I'm still kind of cooking every day. So that makes us kind of unique, that we kind of get rid of all those lectures because they're kind of not for us. We like to do a lot of hands-on. So it still feels like I'm a chef every day. And I want the kids here to feel that too, because cooking is fun. Lectures are kind of boring. Everybody just nod. Yeah, lectures are boring. Good. I thought you would all nod. Well done. So again, just depending where you are, we've had young people from here go and be a chef in a military holiday camp in Germany. We've had young people from here go to New York to work in a 2 Michelin star. The Michelin guide is one of is the #1 food guide in the world for elevated cuisine. A 2 Michelin star restaurant that's about for dinner per person, we're talking about $160, $170 per person for dinner without drinks. And those places are fully booked and they're busy. They're booked 3 months in advance. So that's the sort of place that you aspire to work at, because you're going to be working with some of the best chefs in the world, and the ingredients are just going to be some of the best ingredients you can buy. Just the best baby little carrots, the best tuna, the best turbot, the best salmon. You're going to have super quality. It'll be a little bit different than walking into Hy-Vee, let's put it like that. But nothing wrong with Hy-Vee produce, because I buy it all the time myself. But it's just, there is another level that people are prepared to pay for, and that's the live oysters flown in from Australia. That's the best fish coming out the water, and it's in your kitchen within 12 hours of being caught. That's really fresh, and that's what we're after in this industry, is handling fresh produce. So a typical chef day would be about a 10-hour shift, 11-hour shift. We don't really get lunch breaks. We kind of just eat on the go. You're always tasting in a kitchen. You're tasting a soup, you're tasting a sauce, you're tasting someone's ice cream. Someone brings you in a piece of bread from the bakery. Oh, I'll try that. That's onion bread. Good. That's nice. You're always nibbling away and trying stuff. So you're never actually really hungry, because you're always tasting all day long. And that's what chefs do. We taste a lot of food. We don't really eat. When you watch a chef eat anything, we do that whole swirl it around our mouth for a bit. We're looking at the sky for inspirational words about the food. We never just sit there and shovel it in, because that's no fun. We want to teach ourselves, what am I eating? What spices do they use? What flavors have they used? So no one wants to come out for dinner with me, because it's like 15 minutes per mouthful. It takes forever for me to eat. I'm joking, but it's kind of like that sometimes. One thing I'm going to be very honest about, we do a lot of washing up. We have to scrub our own pots and pans and stuff. So there's always dishes to be done. So if you come into this amazing world, the first 3 months when I was at the hotel, I did a lot of dishes. I watched everybody work, but I scrubbed and I scrubbed and I watched them work. And when they brought a pan up, I would have a spoon and I would eat the sauce at the bottom of that pan. So I learned what broccoli soup should taste like, what French onion soup should taste like. I just tasted all the leftovers that came to me in the wash up. And I was just amazed at the variety of flavors and textures and colors. And I couldn't wait to get off dishes. And I did a good job on the dishes. And they said, right, you can come and get over here on the sauce section. And I started making soups and sauces every day. And you did that for your training was 3 months in every section. And that was for 3 years. Pretty much when you come here, you're doing 3 years training in 9 months. So it's pretty full on, but it's nearly 40 hours a week in a kitchen. So it's kind of like a job rather than going to school, if you know what I mean. But it's a great career. It's an exciting career. And my goodness me, where you can work is totally up to you. I mentioned New York. We've had 2 kids from here go to Cape Town, South Africa, and worked in the number 22 best restaurant in the world, in the top 100 list of restaurants that comes out every year. The student that was here, Jacob, his name was, he sent us selfies. He's sitting there having dinner with, he's cooking dinner for Lawrence Fishburne and Morgan Freeman. They're out there making a movie and they're going to this restaurant because it's the best restaurant in the world. I've had a young man pass hors d'oeuvres around. Do you know what Lollapalooza is? It's a music festival. A lot of famous people at it. Well, the lad that worked for were trained here. He went to work for this restaurant. They got the catering gig for all the bands and the acts at Lollapalooza. So he's sent me a picture of him with a tray of hors d'oeuvres he made, and Beyonce with his arm around Beyonce, smiling, giving her an hors d'oeuvre. It's, if you work at good places, good things can happen. If you work at average below places, well, maybe nothing great might happen. I don't know. You put yourself in the right spot, then you can have a great adventure with this industry. And the big cities it's full of life, full of energy. So a lot of our kids go to Minneapolis or go to Chicago because there's great restaurants there, great hotels, good wages, amazing food, and that sort of restaurant culture is really cool in those cities. New York, Seattle, I mean, just New Orleans. You've got some of the most amazing cities in the world in this country, and just an amazing food scene in those places. So I wish you could all just hit a road trip, jump on a plane. But as soon as we get rid of this nasty virus, we can all go back to normal, and you could do that. Go see your country, go cook around your country. It's a lot of fun, it really is. I can see Megan going, "Gee, chef, you talk a lot." I don't think. I mean, other than sort of standing on your feet a lot, the other things you need as a chef really is good communication skills. You need a sense of humor. That's quite important. You need to be passionate. You need to be dedicated. You need to care about food. I use that word an awful lot. When someone sort of throws a carrot across a kitchen table, they don't care about that carrot. But I know a farmer spent like 5 months growing that carrot. So he's put 5 months work into it. So why wouldn't you look after it? I care about a carrot as much as I care about cooking for David Beckham. They're all important to me. It's all part of my industry. So that 4-letter word care is really big in hospitality, in culinary, and baking. I'm taking my time because I care about the wedding cake that I'm decorating. It's a massive, massive word. So if anybody's got any questions, please just chime in. I'm all ears, all yours. If you've got anything to ask.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can use the chat box. And I have several chats that I've gotten privately, so I can start us off. And then if someone has one, just go ahead and please do jump in. So one of them I just received was, have you ever competed on a TV cooking show?
I've judged a cooking show back in England. It was probably the very first series of UK MasterChef. What they did was they had regional competitions before they did the big live TV one. So rather like, I guess it was a cooking show on KCCI. It was like Iowa's version of it. I did the local regional version of MasterChef, and I was one of the judges on that. And I'll tell you what, the food's terrible because it's cold. They take so long to stage it and get the lighting right and film the food. By the time as a judge you get to taste it, everything's cold and got a skin on it, and you got to stand there and go, "Oh, this is delicious," and it's not. It's all lies. I'm telling you, they all eat cold food. You watch an episode of MasterChef and watch them all finish cooking, and then they pick it up, and one at a time they go through that door to the judges. Well, by the time the second one gets there, their food's 20 minutes cold already. So the judges sit there and pretend they're eating this lovely warm fillet steak, and it's not. It's cold and it's miserable. It's no fun. Have I actually I've competed in a lot of competitions. I've got a bunch of. I'm gonna whiz you around my office for 2 seconds here. I like going into competitions. Can you see those there? There's some knives in boxes there. That was in fact, there's 3 knives in 3 different boxes. There's a competition down in Des Moines every year called Morsel Combat. Morsel, get it? Morsel Combat. Morsel. Yeah, okay. And there's some more little trophies there. Yeah, I love entering competitions, and I don't really have a restaurant, so I go in disguise and I go down there, and I love cooking under pressure. I think all chefs are kind of show-offs at the end of the day. We like to puff our chest up and try and dazzle people with food. So I love cooking competitions. I'd rather be in the competition than actually be a judge of one anymore, because I don't like cold food. So good question. I like it.
That was a good question. Okay, one of the students privately chatted me, and they're wondering if you can talk about the poster behind you again. I know you mentioned it, but they're wondering why that's hung up. So can you touch on that one more time?
Sure. Gosh, I think, well, for a long time, there weren't any what I would call really good food movies that were actually talking about chefs and what it means and to be passionate about food. There was one recently, a Bradley Cooper one called Burnt. I don't know if anyone's seen it. I think you're old enough to see it now. There's nothing nasty or naughty in it. But that's a great movie to watch. But actually, all aspects of this, the whole idea of not eating the garbage, and when you delve into, and I used to read a lot of Shakespeare at school. We were told to, and we were always trying to work out what Shakespeare meant by saying certain things. When you start to watch that movie with the mind of a chef, you start to go, all the other rats eating the garbage, they're the ones in the drive-through for a certain chain of restaurants that you all know, because they're eating. And the other guy wants to go to a really nice restaurant and have the fresher cheese, the real cheese, the pungent cheese, and the aroma. And so there's a lot of trying to teach people about food in this movie. But it's so true. And I love the fact they chose a rat, because normally, rats are chased out of kitchens. They're vermin, they're nasty, they're dirty. And here we are, we've got a rat cooking in a world-class kitchen and producing food that's knocking food critics off their seats. And it's beautifully done. It's beautifully filmed. If I still have the DVD, and the extras on the DVD, you actually see the Pixar and the Disney team. They actually went to the French Laundry restaurant in Napa Valley, which I've been to with a really nice instructor from Fort Dodge Senior High. We went there, and it's a beautiful restaurant, but they spent hours in that kitchen sketching and drawing the staff, how they would hold a bowl and whisk, how chefs walk, how we pour a ladle, how we season things. And it's not Salt Bay. We don't do that. We don't season like that. And I just thought the artistry of actual, when you don't look at the rat, but look at everything going on around you in that kitchen, it's a beautiful movie to watch. And at the end of the day, yeah, anyone can be a chef. It takes passion, heart, and dedication. That's all. We can teach you everything. If you, I can be sitting on top of your head, pulling your hair, and I can turn anybody into a chef. But as long as you got heart, passion, and some dedication, best movie in the world.
Good answer. Good question. Okay, another question in the chat. Do you allow individuals to visit right now due to COVID?
We've actually had one last week, so it was a solo visit, and I think the school do arrange those. We can literally have one person. I think you can come with one parent, and that's all we are allowed at the moment, sort of one at a time. And obviously everybody wears masks, and they'll temperature check you when you come on campus. But I think it's single solo ones with one parent, so a maximum of 2 people on the visit. So.
Okay, good. I see a hand raised. Go ahead and unmute yourself. You're more than welcome to ask the question.
So I wondered, what's your favorite place you've been, and what's your favorite food that you've ever tasted?
Ooh, wow. Okay, good question. I think for overall beauty and landscape and sense of openness and freedom, New Zealand. It's just a stunning country and beautiful countryside, empty beaches, They play a lot of rugby down there, and I coach a bit of rugby here at Iowa Central. I love rugby. I played it since from like the age of 5. It's my stress relief, just hitting people hard with a ball under my arm, of course. But their culture is very much about looking after their people. It's one of the only countries in the world where you never get a water bill. It's a small thing, but the ethos of the country is they have some of the cleanest drinking water in the world. Why wouldn't we give it to you free? Why would we charge you for it? And I love that about everybody's got sort of pluses, but I think the amount of places I've been to, if you ask me to go to one spot, maybe to retire, I'd probably say New Zealand. Just clean air. You can be skiing in the morning and you can be sunbathing on a beach in the afternoon. It's not much bigger than the England, or in fact, it's a little bit bigger than Iowa, but it's got everything in a small space. But it's very much about the people. They look after each other. Your job is not the most important thing you do. Living and life is more important. Give you a quick example. There's a buddy of mine who's a dentist down there, and he surfs every morning with his sons before they go to school, and he starts work later than any other dentist because his boss said, well, if that makes you happy, then that's what you should do every morning. I'm like, that's how it should be. And then everybody does a better job because they're kind of looked after that way. And it's a great mindset. So, and favorite thing to eat, I love things at the sea. Ironically, just because a lot of it's still unpolluted, even though we hear all this bad stuff. I love seafood. I love shellfish. I love diving down and getting it. I've just got into fishing in Iowa. I'm not going to go ice fishing. I don't like the cold. But I think it's a very, I think it's just over historical time. I like the idea of spearing some fish and cooking it on an open fire. One of the best things I've ever eaten was probably a lobster. I was on the island of St. Lucia, and a little fishing boat came into where I was, and I got talking with the guys on the fishing boat, and they took this rag off this collection of like 6 lobsters, and they said, well, do you want one? So yeah, and I gave him some money, and there was an open fire pit at the place I was staying, so they just built the fire, and we just grilled this lobster. Nothing on it at all. Just literally, they basted it with a little bit of seawater because they didn't have salt and pepper, and I pulled this lobster meat out, grilled out, and just ate it with my fingers. And it was so pure, so natural. I was just like, and that's 29 years ago, and I can still taste that lobster now. So I think anything out the ocean, while it's still, we messed up a lot of things on the land. We pumped too many wrong things in animals and stuff. But a fish, hopefully, is a fish. Although unfortunately, we're polluting the waters too. So we need to look after our planet a bit better. But good question.
Yeah, good question. Okay, I have a few more questions here from some students. Let's see. One of them was, where do your students come from? So when they come to the program at Iowa Central, what states are they from?
We've had students from Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nebraska, South Dakota, probably most of the states all the way around us, some from Kansas. I've had students from England here. I've got a couple of rugby players, international rugby players, who come and do the culinary, and then they want me to coach them as well, so they get a double dose of me. They must be mad. But it's and at all ages too. My oldest graduate's been 62, and I've actually had a young lady who started coming to classes while she was still at high school. She graduated from here before she was 19. She left with her 2-year culinary degree because she started coming to me at 16 and taking like 2 or 3 classes every year while she was still at high school. So she only had 1 year to do when she left, and boom, she was done at 19. She actually got a job on a Disney cruise ship. She's decorating cupcakes on a Disney cruise ship. Every day she makes cupcakes and gives them out to kids. She loves it. So, okay.
That would be fun.
Sounds like too many kids for my liking, but yeah, it's fun. So really all over the place with internationals but mainly it's the states around. I would say 60%, 65% of the kitchen is normally from Iowa, and then about 35% is from out of state, because we have so many out of state students here. Because if you didn't know, Iowa Central is like the #1 junior college for sport. So we have people from all over the US who are doing cross country, track and field, baseball, football. So and a lot of them come and do a sport, but they're looking to get a trade as well. So they might do carpentry or criminal justice. But I get a lot of them coming in here because a lot of sports people get into sports bars and run restaurants. So yeah, nice, good question.
Yeah, another one to tie to that. How many students are accepted in your program each year? And then is that different now because of COVID?
Um, it's yes, we've tried to space everybody out. So everybody in the kitchen is 6 foot apart. So where we used to have a block of 6 foot tables together and 4 students around it, now we separate our tables and it's 1 student per 6 foot table. Normally, we like to have about 16 in a classroom with an instructor, no bigger than that. What that means is I've basically got 16 in baking and I've got 2 kitchens for culinary. So there'll be 16 in one and 16 in the other. So normally we have about 34 kids in culinary, about 16 in baking, and we normally have about 16 in hospitality. So it's about sort of 60 overall. But we're down to about half of that because of COVID at the moment. So we're down to about 30 at the moment. So, but they get us even more lucky students.
That's right. Another one in the chat. Would you ever consider judging in a TV competition again?
Yeah, because it pays well. Gordon Ramsay gets $9 million for a season of MasterChef. $9 million. I'll do 1 episode. I'll just take 100,000. That's all. Just one. I would. It is a lot of fun, and I've judged competitions across Iowa. I've done stuff for the Iowa beef producers, Iowa pork producers. My favorite one is every year for the last, I think, 8 years, I've judged the grand cook-off on the concourse at the Iowa State Fair. So we have maybe 80 to 100 people grilling out, and they've all won their local state or area fairs. And then I get to try all their wares, and that's a lot of fun. And I wear this jacket at the state fair. Most of the vendors down there want to give me their stuff as well to try. So I put on about 40 pounds every time I go to the Iowa State Fair, but it's a lot of fun. I would for sure. It's a bit of fun. The only problem with the TV stuff is most of the time it's so staged. It's kind of fake. I kind of like cooking. I like judging real competitions where the food's made in front of me and there aren't the cameras. But TV pays good money, and I've got to pay some bills. So.
Oh, we have a lot of questions rolling in now. Okay, let's see here. The next one. How old can you be to work there?
To work here or anywhere?
That's what it says. So I'm not quite. Yeah.
Like I said, my oldest graduate was 62, and she actually got a job in a bakery down in Des Moines. My youngest was 19. I've had people completely change their career and come to me age 45 and was an IT. Or in fact, I had one guy, he was a preacher, and he got out of the church and he came to me and he found a new church, the Church of Great Food. And he ended up getting a head chef job up in Minneapolis. So I don't think that anyone can cook at any age. Doesn't matter how old the rat is, it can still learn how to cook and have a lot of fun with it. So there's no age at all, no age limit to it. And that's the beauty of it. If you ask me, I prefer mature students, to be honest, just because they've got a great work ethic and they bring a sense of normality to my daily life.
Okay. How long do some meals take to make with prep?
The ones that we do, I would say we probably prep for our student menu, which we ran last night. We were fully booked out. We're fully booked for the next 2 nights, which is quite nice. I would say we probably spend about 5-6 hours with about 16, 18 kids prepping for that menu and that'll take, we'll generally do, about 5 hours of prep. So that's 16 plus the instructor. So 17 people working 5 hours each on the prep for a menu to feed 60 or 70 people. I'll show you a quick menu in my office here. This was the longest dinner I ever had. And I don't know if you can kind of see it, but the middle one there, where am I going? That way. It's kind of hard to see, but the restaurant was called Charlie Trotter, and that's actually 19 courses of food. So that was Valentine's Day in 2010. And I sat on a round table in the kitchen of that restaurant in Chicago. And I sat there and ate 19 courses. It took 5.5 hours. there were 5 local students from culinary schools that were working in the kitchen alongside 15 other full-time professional, really good chefs. And I was just a guest. I got to experience that, and it was one of the best meals of my life. It really was totally unforgettable. Just a dream. Every course was amazing, but every course was like 1 or 2 mouthfuls. That was it. But when you eat great food over time, and it helped, we had some good wine too. I think the wine bill was over $2,000, so I wasn't paying. Don't say no. But I can't imagine how long it would take to prep that. That would take a team of 20 chefs, probably 8 hours, each 20 people at 8 hours to prep that sort of size menu, 19 courses. Crazy, but unforgettable experience though. And that's what food should be. Food should be an amazing experience when you eat. It shouldn't be just something you just shovel in. You should go and smile when you eat. Oh, wow, that tastes good. That's what food should be, not just I'm throwing it in because I need some fuel. It's a piece of floppy old dead pizza. It's like, my mouth doesn't enjoy that. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you were cracking me up here. Okay, let's see here. Do your students do internships or apprentice in any local restaurants?
Yes, and yes. Part of their work experience here, and part of the program here, is that they do an internship. It's about 180 hours, so it's about 4.5 weeks in an industry environment of their choice, and whatever they're interested in. It could be behind a bar, it could be in a restaurant. We've had students here. They've done it from places like Friendship Haven in the kitchens because they wanted to learn nutrition. We've had them at Mineral City. We've had them in Hy-Vee in the bakery department. We've had them working in the Chinese department at Hy-Vee. It's weird, isn't it? Chef Robert, and who would know this in Hy-Vee and Fort Dodge? Where is Fort Dodge? It's nowhere, isn't it? We've got our Chinese chef in Fort Dodge. His best buddy visits him once a year. His best buddy, who's also a chef, used to cook for the Emperor of Japan. And he's helping his buddy out a couple of times a year in the kitchens at Fort Dodge Hy-Vee. So we were lucky. 3 years ago, he came and did a demonstration from us. And he bought this fish in Chicago. He drove to Chicago, bought this fish, and brought it. And he kind of, with a meat cleaver, just cut this fish in a way that when you fried it, it was all like little diamonds, the flesh and stuff. It was just an amazing experience to hang out with a guy with no English, but he taught a class for an hour, and all my students were dead silent and just watched and mesmerized. And I'm like, he doesn't even speak English, and he runs his class better than I do. What's going on? But that's food. And that's when you watch someone who's a really skilled artisan at what they do, you just watch in amazement, and then you get to taste, and it's wonderful. But yeah, there's lots of, we have students do their internships in Ames, Des Moines, had them do them up in Minneapolis. We've made, my assistant, Chef Jeffrey, and myself here, we've made a lot of friends in a lot of restaurants just by having big mouths, talking to people, and knocking on doors and getting opportunities for our kids. So it can be local, or it could be wherever you want. Our job is to make it happen. That's what we do.
How much does a chef make on average, or does it depend where you work?
It certainly does depend on where you work. Let's look locally. We're probably in the region of somewhere between $9 and $12, $13 an hour in Fort Dodge. If you went down to Des Moines, I would think you would be somewhere between 12 and 16, 12 and 17 an hour, something like that. I mean, starting at 12, straight out of, if you went to Chicago, I think there's a big difference between a chef and a cook. I'll just lay this one out there quickly. We have cooks who work in our school canteen here delivering food. It is slightly rude, but most cooks kind of reheat food. Chefs start from scratch and create. We have the knife skills and the techniques to turn basic food into an amazing food. Most cooks don't do that. They kind of work in the hospital environment or nursing homes or schools. That's a cook. So cooks would be considered those that only can prep as well. So a prep cook is not someone who would be considered a chef. Someone who just goes in, cuts a load of stuff up and preps things for other people to cook. That person in Chicago is probably going to get about $30,000 a year. A chef, a qualified chef, would probably be on about $60,000 to $70,000 a year in Chicago. That's probably the best local, 6 hours away, the best local one. When you get to the very top, when you're like the executive pastry chef at the Ritz-Carlton in Chicago, earns $180,000 a year. and there's also an executive chef of all the other food. So the two executives there earn about 180,000 a year each. But on average, that's one night's accommodation at that hotel if all the rooms are full, $180,000. So it sounds a lot of money, but it's one night of revenue from their hotel. So it's not that much really. So they've got rooms there that are $1,800 a night. So it's, yep, good question. So yeah, the money's, you have to go to where the money's being spent. And in Fort Dodge, for example, we don't spend a lot of money on food. So we don't have a fine dining, expensive restaurant scene here. The average salary is only about $30,000 a year in Fort Dodge. That goes up to $50,000 when you move to Des Moines. The average salary is $50,000. So the more people earn, the more they spend on food and going out and all the nice things in life. So that's why you all got to get good grades and get better jobs, spend good money in restaurants.
Good answer. That was a good question too. I know a lot of students always ask us that, so that's a really good question. Yep. The next one, how long is the program? I don't know if you mentioned that or not, but how long is your program, Iowa Central?
We have a lot of 1-year diplomas or 2-year degrees. So it's really as much or as little as you want to do. Baking, culinary, and hospitality are all 1-year diplomas, or you can put any of those two together and get the AAS degree if you want. Something I wanted to mention about the last one as well. I know most people don't think of it as a career, and most people wouldn't want to go to college, and mum and dad don't want you to be a waiter or a waitress. I'm just going to tell you briefly about, we had lunch in a restaurant in New York City on a Sunday. My lunch bill was $670. This restaurant was completely packed. That was lunch for 2 people. And I'm thinking to myself, the staff here, there's about 9 staff on looking after about 60 people. So if you do 60 people times $350 each, and then you work out what 20% tip on that is, we started chatting to the waitress that was looking after us. She earns $85,000 a year as a waitress. Yeah, that's more than any high school instructor's probably earning. That's more than most of the instructors at Iowa Central are earning. And she's a waitress. She's extremely good, though. She'll tell you the exact name of the farm and the farmer where the lamb came from. And she knows that menu inside out. She knows all the wines. She knows the champagne. She's been brilliantly trained. She has the best people skills. She's immaculately dressed in an Armani suit and skirt. It's all part of the package. But yeah, very talented staff can earn good salaries. But again, you've got to be in a big city. So, being front of house, being a waiter, a waitress, a sommelier who does wine, a restaurant manager, assistant manager, across Europe, those are important and recognized and well-respected trades. I feel they're kind of left behind here in the US, and it's just, I'm a waitress because I'm just doing this because my other job isn't happening yet. That's why I don't get very good service in most of the places I go to, because it's not their real job, which breaks my heart because it is a real job and it is real careers for people. Being the general manager of a hotel in Chicago, and I've 2 of our graduates do that very same job. They're general managers of hotels in Chicago now. They're both on 6 figures. I think they're living a good life, and they love their job. But they look after hotels in Chicago. They're front of house. They deal with customers. If you love people, love talking to people, hospitality out front is a lot of fun, and you get to meet so many people. It's horrible having to chat to superstars and pop stars and Good question. Next.
Okay, let's see here. So you just kind of answered the next question. Do you meet a lot of people doing what you do? So yeah. You have said you do.
Yeah, it's it is a people's industry. You got to get on with people. You got to communicate, but you have a lot of fun. You really do. It's everybody I know is connected to me through food. Even the people here. I fed nearly everybody at Iowa Central was eating my food at some point. I make friends. You give, when you cook for people and you give them food, they tend to like you an awful lot. You should see the queue when the day we make donuts here. Oh, I've suddenly got an extra 300 friends. And it's we talk about this a lot in class. I have a lot of friends. A lot of people know me, but I have one friend on Facebook and that's it. And I don't have Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok. But I'm pretty sure if I walk into most places in Iowa, everybody will know me. I don't know how that happens, but communication, boys and girls. Talk to people, shake their hands, smile, make real friends.
Good advice. Yes, I agree. The next one, I am 14 and was wondering if there was a class or two or something. So I think you're asking, is there a class that you should take in high school? Is that what you're asking? You can unmute yourself and ask if you want to.
Oh, no, because I know that a lot of high schools, particularly like someone like ours, we have cooking classes, but we don't have like specific things. And I feel like while we're waiting for that, is there like a class to teach like the basics or something? Or
Um, well, like I said, we've had high schoolers coming to us, like just coming to do one class over a semester. So that would be something that I'm sure we could talk later, whether through Megan or through myself, and she'll give you my email, whatever. Yeah, I like and I like your age group coming and starting, because then you're kind of really getting ahead of the game. So when you do come here, you'll spend less time and less money. The more you can do at high school to learn and improve. A lot of high schools do have our classes. You can take them at I think 5 or 6 high schools. We have these career academies that are opening up as well. I know there's one in Jefferson, there's one in Eagle Grove. The Eagle Grove doesn't do culinary. But like I said, I've had kids drive down from Algona and Humboldt and take one class, or for 2 days a week, they come and take a class here while they're at high school. And I'm all for that, because honestly, if it helps you and means you're not spending money, that's not really good PR for Iowa Central. But I'm not here for PR. I'm here for my culinary industry and trying to get people to fall in love with food. So sorry, Megan, that wasn't very Iowa Central, but tough.
No, I agree. I totally agree. We're here to talk about careers, not to, just talk about the program. So
If you want to talk later to Megan or myself, then we'll give you some details, and then we'll see what we can do. Find out where you are. Yeah.
Chef, what about a job shadow? I know that's just something I wanted to mention. I know a lot of students reach out to Mackenzie and I and ask about job shadows with our instructors and or businesses in town or around town. But have you ever done a 1 day, maybe 4 hours, or maybe all day job shadow for a high school student?
We have, yeah, we do them quite regularly. The most fun one is if you can come up in the evening when we're running the restaurant, because then you kind of see us in full cooking production mode. Down here, we're doing a lot of teaching, so you're kind of watching us as a teacher. Which I'm not saying. I think that being able to teach foods classes at high school is a really good job, a really beneficial job. Being a teacher at a culinary school is a great career. I think what we like our instructors to have is a good background, some knowledge, so maybe have worked in the industry before they go on to teach. But if you wanted to spend time here just following us and learning what we're doing here, but the most fun is to come up to Willow Ridge and throw an apron on and come up there for 3-4 hours on a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday evening, and come and hang out, and we'll feed you the same dinner that the customers are eating. But it's kind of a lot of fun to be in it. I get a lot of customers asking that too. Can I come in there for one night? And I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, we've had customers throw an apron on. They just want to experience what it's like to be a chef for one night. Most of them run away scared after that. They're like, how do you do it? Oh, it's stressful. It's a lot of fun. It just takes a lot of organization. That's all it is. But as a head chef, we're kind of like the conductor of the orchestra. Because I've got people on salads, people on soup, chefs on the protein, chefs on desserts, and you conduct as you go along in the evening, and you just got to make sure you fine tune everything, and you're wiping plates and dressing and putting the garnishes on. So that's kind of fun. I do a lot of shouting.
Imagine that. I've heard some other stories that you do too. We won't talk about it right now. How much would it be for a 2-year degree? And that's something we can ask admissions too. If you're, like Chef said, if you're interested, we can absolutely get with admissions. But Chef, do you have any ideas? If not, we can direct that individual to.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, if you were living on just tuition, I think is about $3,000 per year. So you'd be about $6,500 in tuition, and then depends whether you live on campus, will be more. Which I love the fact that I hate to say it is cheap, honestly, for what you're getting and the potential opportunity. I would highly recommend everybody getting a trade because there's we are lacking in electricians and carpentry and builders and plumbers and HVAC and welders. There aren't enough of them out there, and we're certainly short of chefs and really good bar staff in our industry and good front of house staff. And there's tons of work in all those fields, and you don't have to go and spend 60 grand at a 4-year institution for maybe a degree that you might not even end up using. I've got a daughter graduating soon, and I just hope she uses the degree that's just cost me £50,000, about $70,000. So maybe she won't. Oh well. So you don't have to do that 4-year route. That's 50% of the kids in the UK don't go to university. We go straight into careers and jobs and apprenticeships. And my industry, you're going to get paid more the more experience you got, not the piece of paper. The better restaurants you worked at, the nicer hotels you worked at, the more money you're going to earn because you bring that experience with you. Our industry pays really on experience, not on pieces of paper. So.
Have you traveled just to learn the food types of a place, or have you traveled for other things?
I travel for fun, for culture. I really like to talk from a position of knowledge. So when I'm, I love to be in places where I'm learning all the time. The food side is just a massive bonus for me. So I go to countries because they've got a good food scene. But last year, 2 years ago, I was in Mexico City, and just a mind-blowing city of nearly 30 million people in one city, and just the culture down there was just incredible. Yes, there's violence, and I was having a drink outside my hotel. There's gunfire going on over there, and people shouting, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to sit here and sip my bourbon and not move. I might not get shot. But it's exciting. You go to these places and you, oh man, for me, the blood pumps around my body so much quicker. It's alive. There's energy and there's new things to see. I went to markets in Mexico City. I got in a cab. I don't even speak Spanish. And I got a taxi driver, and I basically showed him an address on my phone. And it was the first time I downloaded, what's it called? Uber. And so I'm in this taxi. We drive for about 40 minutes. He drops me off. And of course, I get out, and I'm like, can't read any of the signs. I think that's the market over there. I end up, and I'm thinking, how do I get back to my hotel now? I don't speak the language, and can I use the same Uber app? Of course, the Uber app's all in Spanish. I should learn a language, boys and girls. It's really useful. But I'm in this market, and you know what? I was there about an hour and a half. I made so many friends in that market. They fed me free food. I was picking and washing lettuce with a bunch of Mexican ladies, and they were laughing at their funny English friend now and taking pictures and da-da-da. I just had a ball there. I was eating locusts and spiced crickets and all sorts of weird and wonderful exotic things they eat down there. And it was just a great time. And it's like, here's me, a funny English guy in the middle of nowhere in Mexico City, not knowing anybody. And the next thing you know, you're making friends. That's the beauty of the food world. It does that. If you have passion, and if you've got a smile on your face and your twinkling eyes, people will like you. And you can't do that over Facebook friends and stuff. And that's what I meant. But yeah, traveling it's food based for me, but it's just the adventure. I want to be able to say I've seen it, I've done it. I'd hate to get to a certain age, a ripe old age, and gone, I wish I'd gone to Australia. I wish I'd swam with a dolphin. I wish I'd gone in a cage with great white sharks. Do it all. The only reason you're not doing it is because you're stopping yourself. Go do everything you want to do, because you got one chance to live on planet Earth. Go see it all. You've got to climb mountains, swim down in the oceans, and just have. Yes, I have swum with dolphins. So before someone asks, but no, I haven't cage dived with sharks yet. I've swum with sharks, not in a cage, but I haven't been with great whites. But there's a lot of stories I can tell you. We could be here for hours, but yeah, traveling is fun. It's exciting.
I think they like you because the questions are rolling in hot. So I can't keep up with questions. So this is good. We're still okay on time. So if you have a couple questions, we're going to start narrowing down so we can play our game. But okay, so the next question I'm going to tie it into, I always ask job outlook, but this student, Madison, has a really good question. Can you say that every student that has gone through your class gets a job that they can make a living off of?
If the student wanted to get a job, because not every student wants to get a job. I have a lady in the baking class at the moment. She has no intention of getting a job, but she will graduate because she's very good at what she's doing. She just wanted to learn some new skills, and she wanted to bake at home better. She has bought 3 or 4. She bought Nancy Silverton's book on baking bread. Nancy Silverton, brilliant baker in Los Angeles, just opened another restaurant. She's got 5 restaurants in Los Angeles. She's like the godmother of bread in America. and she's obsessed of just learning. And she smiles every day. She's learning something new every day. So not everybody comes to get a job. If you want to get a job, yeah, you really have to try really hard not to get a job, because there's so much work out there in a normal year without the COVID stuff. There is, like I said, untold jobs. So if a student wants a job, yeah, they can have them locally. If they want to stretch their legs and go further afield, there's even more work. So yeah, there's always employment out there. They choose not to work if they don't want to. Was there another part to that?
Well, just job outlook in general. You kind of answered that, but
at the moment, it's very tricky. Obviously, I mean, I just saw one of my students, graduates last year. He's working down at the cafe in Ames, and again, they're busy, but not as busy as before. So no one's really employing. They've had to scale down their staff at the moment. But literally, and we may even get shut down further. In which case, hopefully, everyone gets some money and they can keep going and surviving. But as soon as it reopens back up fully, there will be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs in Iowa, in hospitality, in hotels. I have hotels in Des Moines, probably 6 to 7 times each semester. All the big hotel operations are emailing me, looking for my students, want my students. I don't have enough students for jobs. So I turn more people down for work than the students I have graduating. So, which is a nice problem to have. So,
absolutely. Okay, let's see here. The next question. Do you like to do influential things like this often?
Is this influential? I try to get.
Sit here for hours with you.
I want to make people excited about my industry, because I could talk about it for forever, because I've had such a really good time doing everything that I've ever done, and the people I've met. And yeah, cooking for the famous people is one part of it. And I don't really like name dropping, but they're all customers. But my students often ask me what moment of my career kind of stands out. And I was really lucky. And some of you might know this gentleman, but I was working at Greens, and one of our dishes every Wednesday was braised oxtail. So you get the cow's tail, and you cut it up, and then you braise it, but you serve it on the bone with the lovely bits of meat falling off. Loads of red wine, onions, Worcester sauce in there, really rich red wine sauce, beef stock. Cook it down. So anyway, waiters come into the kitchen one day and say to us, okay, so there's a table of 4 coming in. We have to feed them really quickly. The VIP table. So okay, right, we're on it. What table is going to be? Table 6. So that's all we know in the kitchen. And anyway, about 5 minutes later, a gentleman comes in the kitchen. He's got an earpiece on, and he's got a little holster on the side here. So he's obviously someone's bodyguard or security, whatever. He's standing at the kitchen door, looking around the kitchen, making sure we're whatever. And so and they all had braised oxtail, all 4 people on the table. And then the guest on table 6 wants to see the chef. I've no idea who this is. So I take my apron off, I dust myself down, and as I'm going through, the gentleman at the front door says to me, or the security guy in the kitchen says to me, "Now you're meeting President Mandela, so make sure nice manners, chef." And went out, stood in front of him. He told me to sit straight down next to him, and I sat there for 7 minutes talking about nothing but braised oxtail with Nelson Mandela, and it was just like that never leaves me. That's just really cool. What a nice man. And here's a guy who wanted to talk about oxtail, wanted to talk about how his mother made oxtail. And you see that I don't know this guy, other than the fact that he was locked up for 29 years in a prison in South Africa, and he became the face of oppression in Africa and released the entire African nation from white suppression over there. Just an amazing gentleman, and one of the most famous people on the planet, and a historical figure. And I get to chew the cud about braised oxtail with him, and just like, who am I? I'm nobody, but this is just an amazing experience. So yeah, influential moments for me, and I love passing this on to other people. And I think I'm really lucky. And yeah, I love talking to people about it, because maybe it changes someone's life. Whether it becomes, one of the first students I ever had, she lost 40 pounds in 2 years. Because she stopped drinking soda. She changed her eating habits because of what she learned in class. She wrote me a lovely letter after she graduated, and it's one of those letters you keep, but you almost want to cry every time you read it, because I changed her life forever. I made her a lot healthier. She went from being diabetic to not being diabetic. Food can do that for you, and that's a proven medical fact. If you change your diet, you can actually beat diabetes. Not enough information is passed out there to people because there's too much money being made from diabetes drugs. But don't get me started, because we could be here for years.
Oh, goodness. Okay, let's see here. How much would an individual class cost? So that was kind of what we talked about earlier, but do you know?
Off the top of my head, no. I guess if you were at high school, probably nothing. If you were an adult, whatever a class would be, depending on the number of credits. But I would have thought, I don't know, what are they, sort of $400-500 a class, something like that. But if you're at high school, you could you'd come and take those classes as part of your working day at school, and there wouldn't be any cost to you.
Yep. So whoever's asking questions, I don't know who asked that, but reach out to us and we can always talk to you later off this call too. So good
Please
question.
do, yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Who is the most famous person you have cooked for?
Megan Cruzy.
Yeah, you're funny.
It would probably have to be, I got the chance. There was a big bunch of us. There was about 80 chefs back in, oh gosh, what year was it now? It was I think it was 92 or 94. I can't remember what it was. It was the 40th anniversary of D-Day, and the American and British troops landing in France and pushing the German Nazi forces back. And Portsmouth, which is right on the south coast, where all the boats left with all the American and British troops on, they had a big celebration, and they looked for a bunch of volunteers for chefs to cook for this huge event. So there were about 60, 70 chefs. And at the end of the event, we all got lined up and we got to meet the VIPs. And the two VIPs were the Queen and President Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton, but the Queen, she was kind of cool. She's like your granny, and little sweet lady. But that was kind of a highlight. But meeting Nelson Mandela and just sitting down with that guy. Well, actually, the whole Man United team, because I'm a massive Man United fan. So hanging out with David Beckham is pretty cool. But, you know what? But everybody's kind of a VIP in my world. I treat everybody the same. Everybody's interesting. Everybody's glamorous and gorgeous in my eyes. They're all customers who want to eat my food, and I treat them all. I don't really treat VIPs any differently to everybody else. And the people that come to Willow Ridge, I try and talk to every table. Without customers, my students don't get experience. So they're really important to me. They're all VIPs too. That moment with Nelson Mandela will stay with me forever. That was pretty cool. I did meet the Pope once. Well, I was there with about 65,000 other people though, but I felt like it was just me and him. I waved and he kind of did this thing at the balcony, and I'm like, he's waving back at me.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's see. We have just a couple more questions and then we're going to play our game.
Oh.
So what is your favorite thing to bake, your favorite goodie to bake? And then what is your favorite dish to make?
Ooh, okay. Favorite thing to bake. Gosh. Well, now you're going to get some secrets out of me here. I am a huge fan of French silk pie. I know it's a real naughty one, isn't it? I love traditional English bread and butter pudding. So it's like the bread, but we spread marmalade and butter over it, put a custard on it, bake it in the oven. I love bread and butter pudding. Probably those two to actually bake and eat. I love. I guess I think my favorite food, if I could eat something, would be I love any seafood. I love. We used to cook live crabs every day at one restaurant I worked at, and these were not the long-legged ones. These are the big bodies and fat, two big fat pincers at the front. I think they're like your Dungeness crabs, but they're English brown crabs, so they're bigger. And I used to sit there and pick all the meat out, and the meat was still steaming. And just eating warm crab meat for breakfast every day was just delicious. I love it. I love warm crab meat, lobster, crab, scallops, anything like that. Love my shellfish. But yeah, bread and butter pudding and French silk, French silk pie. Guilty pleasure. Secrets out there. please send them to my address, which is just joking.
Oh my God. I'm so glad I'm on mute because I can't stop laughing. So, thank you for that. Okay. So the last question we're going to ask, let's see here. It's just something I kind of like to finish up with. So first of all, can you talk about Willow Ridge? I know we didn't touch much on Willow Ridge, but can you kind of talk about that? And then after that, can you share any advice you have for the students, the teachers, our staff, anybody on here, but mostly for the students on here? What is advice you would give them? What classes they can take that would help them in high school, or just any advice at all? I know you've given us a ton, but we can kind of wrap up with those two questions. So Willow Ridge first, please.
Yeah. So Willow Ridge is a 9-hole golf course with a really nice clubhouse. It was fully refurbished, and I think $750,000 was spent on it about 12 years ago. It was given to the school about 8-9 years ago by a good friend of mine, Mr. Don Decker of Decker Truck Line. He actually used to eat at my restaurant in England, which is how I knew him and how I ended up in Fort Dodge, Iowa. Amazing who you meet. So you go out and talk to a customer and your whole life changes direction. But we have it as it's basically, it's a traditional golf course in the summer. And then during the school year, we turn it into our student dining room. It's open 3 nights a week. And we generally have about 5 students working front of house. So they get to do the POS system, handle money, make the cocktails, open the wine, open the champagne, lay the tables, do everything that you'd ever do to set up and help run the front of house restaurant. And then every night we have about 5 or 6 students in the kitchen, and they're doing the appetizer. We do a 5-course menu every night. So there'll be a bread course, flavored butter. Last night was onion bread with a bacon and Parmesan butter. There was a broccoli soup, which was, it had a Parmesan foam on it, little sauteed pieces of broccoli in it, toasted pine nuts. Then there was a shrimp cocktail, but it was warm shrimp sauteed in horseradish butter. Then there was a little fish and chip dish. And then there was a ribeye with a red pepper sauce and little bundles of veg tied up. And then raspberry souffle. So we try and we change that menu on a regular basis to keep our students learning new skills all the time. But yeah, it's our real life animal toy where our students get to learn for real what it's like to work in a kitchen, to help run the front of house of a restaurant. You'll get to do the books, you'll learn invoicing, you'll learn the credit card machines. You're pretty much ready to go and be a major part in the kitchen, or at least an assistant manager or shift leader at a really good restaurant with the knowledge that you're learning from there. And like I said, experience is so important. When you put this experience of how many hours you did at this place on your resume, that really opens the eyes to a potential employer rather than just leaving a straightforward college. But what experience have you got? Well, I worked in Pizza Hut. Yeah, that's okay, but it's not what we're after. Where you can say, well, I did 300 hours at a fine dining restaurant, and I've used this POS system, and I've used the computer for that, and I've done this, and I organize these events, and I put the wine list together. I know cellar management. I know how to look after the kegs, clean the beer lines, run this, do that. It's brilliant. You pile that onto your resume, you're very, very employable. That's Willow Ridge. The students basically do mandatory 60 hours each semester up there. So if you're here for 1 year, you'll do 2 lots of those. You can do your internship up there if you want to. If you live local, you can do your internship up there. I've actually got a student who's come back, who's done culinary for a year, baking for a year. Now she's coming back to get a business degree. We're actually paying her to run the shifts. So she's my shift manager, and she's actually earning while she's here learning. So her parents think this is a wonderful idea, that she's earning $250 a week working up at Willow Ridge, and that's paying off her school tuition. So she gets the best of both worlds there. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. We're working on a new partnership with the only full service hotel in Fort Dodge as well. And we're hoping to offer some sort of tuition free down the line with that as well. So more people are slowly getting on board with this, more opportunities for that. My overall advice to anybody who is interested in hospitality, culinary or baking, is just start doing it now. Go and play in the kitchen. Go make some cookies. Go make some cake. Go make something and taste what you make, and then give that out to your neighbors or the old lady across the road, and you watch their faces when they eat something you make. everyone asks me, what's the best restaurant in the world? What's the best meal you've ever had? That's hard to really quantify because it's probably the people that I eat with that makes it the best meal. And in which case, probably anytime I've sat down with friends and family and had a meal is the last time I had a really amazing meal. The food is, do I remember what I ate? Not really, but I remember when you pay $1,000 for dinner, I remember every mouthful because I'm paying for it. When I'm hanging out with friends and family, I remember them and the conversations and the laughter, and not so much the food's incidental. When you make something really simple at home and then share it with your family and take it across the road and give it to the neighbor you've never spoken to, and they go, these snickerdoodles are amazing. They're still warm. Oh my gosh, you watch the smiles you put on people's faces. And that's just from making something really simple. And then from that, just push yourself, try something new, make spaghetti for the family one night, make a shepherd's pie, make a meatloaf, and watch their faces when someone else doesn't have to cook because you did it and you've made it with real care and thought and love. Man, that stuff tastes good. Those three ingredients I can't teach you: care, thought, and love. I can try and nail them into you, but hopefully it's inside you because you like making people happy. But do as much as you can now. Just play in the kitchen, have some fun. Read Google Michelin chefs. Start looking at some of their Instagram pages. Look at Gordon Ramsay's stuff. Look at Curtis Duffy. Look at Thomas Keller from the French Laundry and Per Se. Just Google the best chefs in America and start looking at their pictures of their food, and you'll be like, wow, this stuff, it's art on a plate and it's beautiful stuff, but they post stuff every day. I've had students like Instagram message or Facebook message like world famous chefs in America, and they get a reply back in like half an hour, and they're like, wow, a real chef. I'm like, yeah, we're real human beings. The whole chef family is a global thing. But I told one kid, he didn't believe me. It was 2 phone calls away for him to get to work with Gordon Ramsay in London. And I sat him in this very office where I'm talking to you now, opposite that poster. I made 2 phone calls and we've got him the position to go work in Gordon Ramsay's kitchen in London. And he's like, oh my God, you really do know everybody. I said, well, chefs know everybody. We all know each other. I know someone who knows someone that will make stuff happen. And that's the beauty of our industry. But start reading, start following a few chefs and start making stuff. You're going to have some disasters. I've burnt things in my life. Don't worry about it. But you're going to make some things that just make people smile. And then, if that really gets you there in the little heart that you enjoyed their smile and they were happy about what you made, you could have a lot of fun with it over the next 60, 70 years.
Good advice. We have a hand raised. Okay, this will be our last question. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
I was just wondering if there was any emails or anything that I should use to contact you guys.
Yeah. Megan, do you want to deal with that or?
Yeah, good question. So at the end, right after our game, we'll flash up a screen and we'll show you chef's information. For me, I can put it in the chat and then I'll have Kenzie put hers too. So if anyone on here works with Mackenzie Holly directly, you'd contact her. And then otherwise you'd contact me, but we can get you directed to the right person. And then if you want to talk to Chef directly, you can absolutely reach out. So that's a good question, but yes, we'll get you that. Are we ready to play the game, Chef?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, Kenz, you ready?
She's falling asleep.
Yep, I'm sharing it in a second.
Okay, so we're gonna play Kahoot. So get your computers, any devices you have that will work with this, your phones. We would love everybody to play. So winning, yeah, there's gonna be a winner. It's gonna be bragging rights. So hopefully if one of our students win, or teachers, we want you guys to play too. We can brag about what school won. So yes, absolutely. We want you to play. Chef, we'll see how well you know yourself. Oh, look at all of you. This is awesome. We'll wait one more minute here just to make sure everybody can get on and play. Oh my goodness, this is great. There's so many of you. All right, one more second here. Looks like we're, one more person, okay. Okay, a little bit longer. I'm one of those that it takes me a long time. I'm terrible with technology, so I want to make sure we all have time to jump on here. Oh my, this is going to be a good one. Whew. Chef, are you getting on?
I don't know how to. I'm on the website, but I don't know how to get on it.
Oh, don't ask me. Ask Kenzie. I'm terrible with technology.
It's Kahoot.it.
Kahoot.it. Thank you, Owen.
Well, I'm on Kahoot.com. But don't wait for me.
Okay, there's still students jumping on. Okay, is anybody, you can unmute yourself. Is anyone, are we waiting for anyone? We don't want to start without someone.
I still need some time.
Okay, we'll wait for you. No worries. You let me know when you're on.
Is there a prize for this?
Bragging rights.
Well, you know that the winner of the quiz is going to get dinner for 4 at Willow Ridge.
What? Okay,
Yep.
so let's say if the winner, is that going to be staff or students? Or are you going to do one for both or what? Because we have staff on here going to do also.
Let's do both then.
Okay, so we can have, whether you're staff or a student, that means we want all of you to play, but whoever the winner is, doesn't matter who you are.
Yep.
If you're our staff, you can't win. I'll just say that. If you win, that's okay. We'll say who's next.
So I don't need to enter then.
Did you? Yeah. You feed yourself. Did you get on, Chef? Are you good?
No, I'm going to watch you guys nail this.
Is anyone else waiting? We can wait a little bit longer. Is everyone on? I know we were waiting earlier for somebody. Did you end up getting on?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so we gave you 4 multiple choices. So depends whenever you're ready. When did the culinary program start at Iowa Central? Okay, you have 26 seconds now, so go ahead. Was it 2007, 1995, 2001, or 2013? So if you listen today to Chef of all his wonderful information, he did mention this at the beginning of his presentation. So when did the culinary program start at Iowa Central? Oh my goodness! Good job to those of you. Like both of those were tied. 1995. Interesting. Good job, Michaela. Looks like there's a lot of you ahead. What country is Chef Michael from? Africa, Australia, England, USA. What country is Chef from? About 15 seconds. Seven seconds. Get your answers in. Oh, they're good. They are good. Good job, guys. Those 33.
Very good.
Whoop, whoop. Looks like we still have some in the lead. Kayla. Worldwide, what is more popular, pork or beef? Think hard, guys. What's more popular? This one shocked me. I got this wrong yesterday when Chef sent this question to me. 15 seconds. Get your answers in. Four seconds. Oh, that is shocking, but yes, it was pork. So congrats to the 15. Oh, Michaela is just kicking butt.
Good job.
Okay, how many chicken eggs make up an ostrich egg? Oh, good picture, Kenzie. Woo. Is it 2 eggs, 10, 24, or 40? Man, their mouths are huge.
So they're eggs.
Yeah, that is true.
Oh, was that a clue? I don't know.
That was also in the video today. So we'll see here. Ooh, 12 of you got it right. So it is 24. Michaela, you got that right too? Holy cow, girl. So yeah, those are big eggs. So that is 24 of them. Whew, that's a lot of eggs. What is the most Instagram food in the USA? Is it a cheeseburger, a pizza, pasta, or ice cream? Michaela's struggling. I can tell by her reaction. She's stumped. She is stumped. Think about those pictures. What do you see people doing most? I knew this one.
What is Instagram?
Yeah, I don't even know. To be honest, I don't have it. Good job. It is pizza. Oh, Michaela, somebody might have caught up to you. Let's see. Oh, really close. Cadence is getting up there. What is the most expensive dinner per person in the US? Oh, I should probably read those. I was falling asleep here. Willow Ridge in Fort Dodge. Oh, chef, I don't even know how to pronounce half of these.
It's Nobu in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Chatham's Place in Florida.
Then Harding's in New York.
Harding's in New York City.
Okay.
But it's probably not Willow Ridge, if that helps you out, guys. I'll give you that.
Oh,
Very good.
15? How did you guys know that? Good job. It is. Wow. We've got some smart kiddos on here. Oh, Michaela got that one right. She's back up there. Okay, 7 out of 8 it looks like. What did the most expensive tuna sell for at market? So what did the most expensive tuna sell for at market? So go ahead and it looks like you can type your answer in. So just take a money guess.
Big
Folks,
dollar figure.
big figure. 9 seconds.
Big figure.
Hurry up. Get your answers in. Wow. That's a lot of money.
3,085,000. That's an expensive fish.
Yes, it is. Did we have anyone close? No, doesn't look like it. Okay, Kenzie, is this the final? Oh, no, we got one more. Oh, maybe it's showing us the answer. Nope, we're done. Okay, Ken, who was the winner? I think it might have been Michaela, but I could be wrong. Kenzie, did you know who the winner was? She's sharing her screen again.
Sorry.
You're fine. Oh, cool. Okay, so, second and third. Oh, Michaela. Michaela, what school are you from?
I'm from Clarion Goldfield Dows.
Okay, thank you so much. So Clarion won. Good job, guys. Oh, look at the other two. They were so close. What schools are you guys from? The other two that almost won.
They're both from Clarion.
Whoa, Clarion, you guys know your stuff. Chef, do they know you personally? I feel like they might.
Well, they need to. That's awesome. Well done, guys.
Good job, all of you. Those are some tough questions. Okay, so Kenz, if you want to share the information. I'm making her share screen again. I think both chefs might be on here, but I don't know if Ken's put both or. So Chef Michael, reach out to him. He's the top one. That is his direct information. So you can definitely take a picture, write his information down. And then also, if you want to get a hold of us, we can put it in the chat, but otherwise you can talk to, let's see here. You can talk to any of your counselors or teachers and they can get you with Kenzie or I. So, but otherwise, yeah, reach out to Chef. Chef, is that okay if people contact
Absolutely.
you?
Please do, guys. Yeah, no, I'd love to chat to you. Even if you just got any other questions didn't get answered today, but if it's anything to do with Iowa Central or food in general or what you can be cooking at home or which chefs to follow, what books to buy, just reach out. Love to chat.
Hey, Chef, I did have one last question. What is next for you? What's your next goal?
My next goal, well, don't tell anybody and keep it quiet, but I might be opening up a restaurant in Iowa in about the next 6 months.
What?
What?
Where at?
I'm not going to tell you yet.
Oh, that was my next question.
Yeah, not yet. Wait and see. Wait and see. But
Where will it
yeah.
be in Iowa?
Top secret. Top secret, man.
Hey, chef, when you open that, how will we know?
It'll be in the newspapers. It'll be on TV.
Okay. Okay. Well, good job, Fort Dodge. That was a good question. I'm really glad you asked that because we did not know that. So that's awesome. We're excited. So I bet you can count on all of us to be there,
I hope so. I hope
or
so.
maybe working there someday. Not me, but everyone else that has skills. So
I'd love to have some young people in the restaurant helping me out and learning and getting better. Yeah, for sure. But I
awesome.
look forward to seeing the winners up at Willow Ridge for dinner sometime in the new year.
Yes. Yep. So, Michaela, go ahead and get a hold of Chef, okay, since you did win. Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We want to thank Chef, Iowa Central. We always say this. We are truly blessed to have him at Iowa Central. And he's a great guy.
Best to be here too.
Yeah. So if you get to know him, I mean, your world will never be the same. He's hilarious. You never know what he's going to say next. He's truly fun to work with. So reach out to us. Let us know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining us today. We can't wait to see you next time. So thank you, everyone. Take care. Stay